Hello, everyone
Hi.
from Norwich. Here's Dinah, who's going to be looking after the chat. And yes, thank you so much for tuning in to this very first Tuesday webinar presenting the International Shiatsu Congress online. So please say hi in the chat and just let us know where you're from, and we'll get straight on to the presentation. Okay, so yes, the International Shiatsu Congress Online, October the 9th, 10th and 11th. We're very, very excited about it. And I'll tell you all about what we're going to do in the next hour in a moment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to give you a little bit of history about ISCO, where it came from and where it's going. We're going to introduce a little introduction to all the presenters. We've had rehearsals and we've kind of got to know everyone. I'd like to introduce a little bit. We want to find out from you how familiar you are with the presenters, because this will really help us feed back to the presenters and let them know if you're familiar with their work. We're going to talk to you a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes and a special treat. So please stay tuned towards the end of the webinar, because what's happened is Kat, who's one of the team, has actually put together a bit of a behind the scenes video of the rehearsals. So it gives you a little bit of a glimpse into our world as we've been putting together this amazing event. So just check that video out. We'll be playing that towards the end of the webinar. I haven't actually seen it yet, so I'm going to be as surprised as you when we actually see it. Okay, so we'll also just give you a brief rundown. We'll find out if you're going to come to ISCO, either the live event or if you're going to come to the recorded event, and we'll give you some hints on how to make that experience the best that we can. And then there'll be a little bit of time at the end for question and answers as well. Okay, there we go. Look, we've got loads of people, lots of familiar names from all over the world. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. Right, okay, so a little bit of history about ISCO. Here's a leaflet I found in our archive the other day. Look at this. This dates back from 2000, when we were set up this thing called shiatsucenter.net, if you can remember that. That was like way back in the day. And it was way back before Facebook, before YouTube, before really stream video at all. And it was mainly a text-based thing, but it was a kind of vision of how the internet could connect up the world of shiatsu. And here's a close-up of me. I look very, very tired, don't I, there? And we got an international group of teachers together way back then. And look at the list that we had there. We had Pauline, who's sadly no longer with us, Carola, who's actually on this ISCO, Klaus Metzer from Germany, Paul Lumberg, Gabriella, there was me, of course, Patrizia, who we're speaking to this afternoon, Nicola, and Patrizia and Nicola are on this ISCO too, that's coming up. Eva Maria Schulte, if you know her, from Switzerland, Elaine Liechti from Scotland, Dinah, our very own Dinah, was on it, Brigitte, Anne Palmer, Mariana from Greece, and Elise Johnson and Imma. So a group, this was way back in the 2000s when we got that together. Now, the thing is, we then presented an online shiatsu seminar with Pauline Sasaki, and that was a landmark event at the time. I just wondered how many of you were actually there. So this will be very interesting for us to find out. I'm going to launch a poll. How many of you can remember being on that very first online seminar with Pauline Sasaki? It was all text-based. It was just it was right at the beginning of the internet. It was a really very well attended event. But look at this. Almost a lot of you probably weren't even born then. How fascinating. Look, 95% of you definitely weren't there. Well, that's incredible. I think we should, as this is the 10th anniversary of Pauline's death, perhaps we'll resurrect that and maybe make an event around that later on in the year. So look at that. We see if the history goes back so far, okay? And it was, looking back, it was the first online Shiatsu Congress ever. It was, this is ISCO 2012, which was 12 years later than that very first seminar back in the day. And that original ISCO was again right at the beginning of video streaming. It was technically a nightmare for us. But look at the mission, was to provide Shiatsu practitioners, students and teachers around the world with free online resources. And we've come full circle now, because that's exactly what ISCO 2020 is aiming to do. So isn't it fascinating how things come around? Now, I don't know if you can remember ISCO 2012. It's actually on a platform that no longer exists now. So it's just in our memories, but we had many of the presenters in 2020 were there. Nicola was there. I can remember Diego. Many of those presenters were there. Now, it's only 8 years ago. I'd really like to know whether you were at the first ISCO in 2012. Were you there? Let's see. 8 years ago now. We've not got anyone who was there. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Some people are not sure. It was too long ago. Whoa, look at that. Amazing. No one can remember being there. That's absolutely incredible. So then we've got a whole new generation of people. Again, it's really, that's part of the history of we ran the whole thing on donations. We had a very big donation from Spain, from an anonymous donor. And we ran the whole event on donations only. So look at that. I can't believe it. No one was there. That's absolutely incredible. Okay, so here we are now, 2020. We've got the International Shiatsu Congress Online. This is the second one we've done, as I say. We've obviously come on a long way in the last 8 years with video streaming and everything. And it's a lot more relaxing for us to have stable platforms to work with. Okay, so we've got it starts on Friday. There's been a few questions about the timing. I just want to emphasize that the timing is in Central European Standard Summertime. And if you're worried about the timing, not sure because of different time zones, if you go to the website, which I'll talk about later, you'll be able to definitely find out when it is. Okay, so this year, this ISCO is done in part, we're presenting it in partnership with the European Shiatsu Congress that was held in Amsterdam very successfully. Well done, all you amazing team. You may know that we supported European Shiatsu Congress with a whole series, a whole year's worth of free webinars, and we were intending to be there to help live stream it. But as it happened with the whole coronavirus thing, in the end it got too complicated, and we decided to take the ISCO off and hold it as a separate event, which was going to happen this weekend. And of course, it triggered a memory that we'd done it all before, so we're launching it as our second ISCO in conjunction with the European Shiatsu Congress. Okay, so let's just find out whether you actually went to Amsterdam this year. That will be really interesting to know. Okay, so did you attend the ESC in Amsterdam either actually in Amsterdam, or did you watch the live stream or some of the live stream, or did you not go at all? Let's find out from you. So it gives us an idea of the audience that we have, at least for this webinar. Okay, so look, most of you, over 80% of you didn't engage with ESC in Amsterdam at all this year. And that's a shame that you couldn't go there. Maybe you wanted to go there. But we're very pleased to be able to work with them. And what we've done is we've presented quite a few of the presenters who couldn't make the ESC Amsterdam because of the coronavirus and travel restrictions. And of course, we had a very close relationship with that team. We worked right the way through the year with them. I visited Amsterdam and looked at the venues and everything. We got very close to them professionally, and we made some good friends there across the water. It's not very far across the North Sea to Norwich. It's just east of here. It's actually very near. Okay, so now we've got the days, okay, and this is where this Friday thing comes in, because you'll notice that each of the days is organized as one long webinar and this is one of our challenges, is to get all the presenters to come in exactly on time and give you a rolling day. Okay, you don't have to come to the whole day. You can just pop in and see one or two people, or you can stay for the whole day. It's up to you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time just running through the presenters, talk a little bit about them, and we are going to try and find out from you whether you know anything about them. And again, this gives us really good information that we can feed back to the presenters themselves. So stay tuned and let us know if you're familiar with the work of these different presenters. And we've organized them for this webinar in the order that they will appear Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Okay, and then of course you can always watch the recordings if you miss it. So first up, we have Galit, and we had her on the rehearsal of the day. We had a lot of fun getting to know her a bit better. She's done lots of work with working with pregnant women, but she's also fascinated about how we can work more efficiently ourselves. And her theme is energy management for therapists. She's going to share with us lots of her techniques that she's developed to make ourselves, to keep ourselves healthy and vital as we work. And I don't know about you, but certainly now that we're working face-to-face now, a lot of the clients are carrying a lot of stress because of coronavirus. So it's become even more important, hasn't it, that we look after ourselves. So she's going to go through lots of principles on how we can change how we work to keep ourselves healthy. And she's going to keep it really practical. And we've really encouraged all the presenters to try and make these sessions as practical as possible, either for a solo person or or if you have got a partner, you can bring them in and you can work on them. Okay, so I'm going to launch another poll now. I'm going to ask you whether you know the work of Galit, whether you've actually worked with her in person, or maybe you've just seen her on video, read a book or anything. But if you don't know her, let us know and we will feed that back to her, because then she can pitch her work accordingly. And look at this, Galit is not that well known amongst this audience anyway, so she'll be very excited, I'm sure, to meet you all and share her work with you. Okay, thank you very much for that. So we've got 53%. I just wondered, Dinah, you're on the chat, I wonder if you could maybe just keep a record of this so we've got it to hand, just each of the polls for each person. Okay, so let's move on to the next presenter. Oh, we have Dr. Dan Keown. Okay, so if you've been to our webinars before, you notice that we have presented Dan a few times. He couldn't get to Amsterdam because of coronavirus travel restrictions, and he's a great friend of New Energy Work. We've had a lot of fun with him in the past. He's a great character. He's a bit of a rebel. He's actually a medical doctor who's turned acupuncturist, revolutionary acupuncturist, and he's a bit of a rebel in the acupuncture world too. The old guard are a little bit suspicious of him because he basically powers through the whole TCM thing and really tries to engage it with Western medicine. And he's a fascinating author. We've got all his books. We love the guy. And he's come up with a real left field topic. I don't know anything about it, but I'm sure knowing Dan, it will be fascinating. And it's all about this drug, can I pronounce it? Hydroxychloroquine, I suppose it is, hydroxychloroquine. I should practice that. And it's all about how that drug has made us really rethink, when I say us, I mean Western medicine, really rethink the whole ideas about autoimmune disease. And I don't know, but I've got a very big suspicion that what will happen is that Dan will use that drug and how it works to show that the TCM ideas about autoimmunity were all absolutely correct, and they've been ignored by Western medicine. But I'm really excited about that. I'm really looking forward to having Dan on the event. And so let's just find out if you know the work of Dan Keown. You may have read his books. You may have seen him on a webinar here. Let's see if he's very well known. Okay, so it looks it's about 50-50 actually. Look at that. Well, he's written the best-selling book on Amazon in the acupuncture section. It's called The Spark in the Machine, and it's an absolutely wonderful book. I totally recommend it. It's the sort of book you can give to your auntie or your partner, or if they were interested in Chinese medicine. It's written for a lay audience. And he's recently written another book called The Uncharted Body, which is like a manual of connecting Western medicine and Chinese medicine. Really worth checking out. Okay, so yeah, I definitely recommend it. If you haven't seen Dan Keown before, definitely recommend him. Okay, excellent. So 50-50. Okay, I'm just going to flick back here. So we've got Dan, and then we've got Nicola. Okay, well, Nicola, as you may know, was one of the founders of the Shiatsu College. That's the college that I formed with Carola Beresford-Cooke and Elise Johnson and Paul Lumberg in 1986. You probably weren't alive then, but that's when Nicola and I started working together with the Shiatsu College. And she's now very deeply into Qigong. She's on the rehearsal. You might even see her in the rehearsal video. I don't know. But yes, she's deeply into Qigong now, and she's been doing a lot of online Qigong work. She's going to do an unusual session in the sense there's not going to be any slides. It's going to be purely an experiential session. It's going to be just basically working with her. She'll be broadcasting from her room in her house. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be all practical, and it's going to be exploring the meridians, the central channel, and the dantian energetically ourselves with Qigong. So a totally practical session, really looking forward to it. Now, I imagine Nicola's pretty well known, so let's just see whether you know what the work of Nicola Ley, or Lee. She was Pu Lee, but now she's just Nicola Ley. Do you know her work? Have you studied with her face-to-face, or have you studied her online? Let's see. Whoa, okay, look at that. I'm quite surprised. Well, I think you're going to be in for a real treat. If you like Qigong and you like exploring the energy of the body, you're going to love that session. And it'll be just so great to connect with Nicola. So that's really amazing. Okay. So we've got a lot of new people that haven't met the presenters, which is fantastic. I think that's a really, really good thing. So let's move on to the next person. Okay, we have our very own Nick Pohl. Okay, so Nick Pohl was actually in the very first graduating class of the Shiatsu College, the one I set up with Carola and Paul and Nicola. We set the college up together in '86, and the very first class, there was Nick Pohl. And he's now an international authority on clean language and body work. He's written a book recently called The Words That Touch. I think that's what it's called, yeah. And it's an absolutely beautiful book, absolutely beautiful. And he's a real expert on using clean language. He's taught me so much over the years, and I use his work every single day in the clinic. It's superbly powerful work. And just to make it even more exciting, he's actually teamed up with Margot Rossi, who's one of his colleagues, and she's actually in America. This is the power of the internet. They're going to present together, which I think is going to be wonderful to see them working together. Margot came to the rehearsal. She's a lovely person. I hadn't met her before. It was so lovely to meet her. And they've got this theme of listening like water, the Tao Yin and clean language combined. And they're going to take us deep into how we can listen deeply and our embodied presence in the session. And it's going to be very practical again. So really looking forward to that, Nick and Margot. Absolutely. So I guess probably a lot of people must have studied with Nick, but let's find out. Okay. So do you know the work of Nick Pohl or Margot? She might have some of her fans tuning into this webinar. So I'm going to launch this poll. Have you studied with Nick or Margot Rossi? Anyone? Let's just see. So, whoa, again, about 50-50. Look at that. Okay, well, you're in for a real treat. Those of you who've never met Nick or Margot, clean language is one of the most awesome tools for Shiatsu therapists. I use it all the time. It's absolutely brilliant. So if that's your introduction to clean language and Shiatsu, you're going to love it. In fact, we must put together an online course with Nick at some point, because we've done it in the past many years ago, back in the mist of time. And it's been a while since we've done something online just with Nick. Okay, absolutely amazing. Right, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, Alan Nash. Okay, Alan Nash is an interesting character. He's English and he lives in Holland, and he couldn't go to Amsterdam as well because of the coronavirus restrictions. And so he's on our ISCO. Talked to him was it this morning? I think it was this morning we did a rehearsal. Yeah, it was early this morning. I had to get up very early, and we did a rehearsal with him. And I know Alan because we shared, we presented together on a French Society Congress. I don't even know when it was. It must have been 10 years ago, maybe. And so I met him there for the first time. Wilfried Rappenecker was on that Congress as well. I don't know if any of you were there from France. You might remember that event. Anyway, Alan's going to do a very different webinar for us, just to break things up. He's not going to use any slides. And what he's going to do is he's going to work from his dojo, and he's going to actually use Boshin and distance techniques to work on anyone in any of the attendees who want to have a distance session. So if you'd like to have a distance session from him, maybe have some Boshin and get him to work on you at a distance, then all you've got to do is make sure that you have a working webcam and a working mic, and we can turn those on through the system, and he can work directly with you, which is going to be really quite interesting, isn't it? Very interesting difference from the other presentations. So, yep, if you want to observe him working, or you'd like to actually have a treatment by him, then please turn up, and we'll ask you to put your hand up in the chat and see if we can fit everyone in. So yeah, that's Alan Nash, very much an English guy, but he's now working in Holland. So there we are, another link with Holland and the UK. So let's see, maybe lots of Alan Nash's fans are watching this webinar. Let's see if you know his work. Let's see as a group. Do you know the work of Alan Nash? Have you worked with him? Have you maybe seen him on video or worked with him on video online? I don't know. Here we are, we've got a few. Yes, we've got a few, but still quite a small minority of the whole group. So there we are. 95% of you will be meeting Alan for the first time. So that's another exciting thing. Great. And welcome to those people who know Alan. It would be great to have you on ISCO as well. Okay, fantastic. So moving on, let's have a look and see what's next. Okay, so then we have Alice. Now, I actually have known Alice since she was about 18. I remember when we used to do workshops with Pauline Sasaki at Grimstone Manor. This is going back to whenever it was, the late 80s, maybe early 90s. I can't remember. Maybe it was around that time. Yeah, I guess it was probably around then. And Alice was there. She was actually living in the residences. She was actually in the residences there. And she went on and she subsequently studied at the Shiatsu College in London in our school, and she became one of our graduates. And now she's an international celebrity. She's an authority on mind clearing. She's written a book on it. And she's also, personally, I've actually found her the most convincing and the most thorough teacher of Seiki that I've actually come across in terms of understandability. And that actually includes Kishi himself. Sorry about that, Kishi. He's sadly departed, but Kishi was never one for really explaining what was going on. But Alice has those two things. She has a very deep understanding of Seiki, but she also has a very, very keen mind, an extremely good way of describing it, describing how what Seiki is. And I love working with her. She is really great. She's actually, and then to make it even more exciting, she is going to be working, she's going to be broadcasting live from Heidelberg in a room that I've taught in many times. Anyone from Heidelberg remember those workshops in that room? Yeah, she's going to be broadcasting live from an actual workshop. She's going to make it as practical as she can, and it's highly recommended. So the question is, and this will be very interesting to know, is do you know the work of Alice Whieldon? Have you ever studied with Alice Whieldon? Let's see. Wow, okay, look at this. Alice, well done. You're well known. Still around the 50-50 mark, but pretty well known. Yeah, Alice has been doing a lot of teaching and she's got a really good reputation. So it ends up being 44% of you are familiar with her work. Okay, great. Can't wait to see you, Alice, on ISCO 2020. It's going to be so much fun. She actually moved to Norwich as well for a short time. We were so excited, but unfortunately things didn't work out and she's moved away again now. Never mind. But we were always trying to tempt her back to East Anglia because it was so much fun having her in the local scene. Okay, so what have we got next? Well, that was the Friday. I think that would be enough. Personally, that's enough already for an amazing Congress. But no, it's only the first day. Okay, so we've got Saturday, it's 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock Central European time. That means we have to get up early because it's like 8 o'clock UK time. And you'll be, those of you in different countries will be tuning in all over the world. It'll be, you know, all kinds of different times for you. That goes for the presenters as well, by the way, as we'll find out later. Okay, so who's first up on Saturday? Okay, the lovely Suzanne Yates. Okay, now I bet you she's going to get more than 50% of people knowing her work, because you may or may not know Suzanne Yates is probably the world's authority on shiatsu and pregnancy and childbirth. She's been working for decades. She's written books. She's an amazing teacher. I met her personally at one of the European Shiatsu Congress, one of the early ones back in the day when they were at Kiental, and we've been in touch ever since. Okay, but she's got an exciting new thing this time, which is the stepping vessels, and she's got a couple of videos we're going to play, and it's going to be very practical. And the reason she's presenting it is because the stepping vessels are all about how the energy system adapts to change, and boy, we need that right now, don't we? Okay, so yeah, she's doing this thing on the stepping vessels, and it's all to do with basically being in the moment. I've seen little clips of the videos. They look really, really interesting. This is going to be another practical session. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And it'll be great to have Suzanne on the ISCO. She's done a lot of online teaching. She's got all the cameras and the lights and everything. She's got all the gear to do it with. So, okay, come on, surprise me. Okay, do you know the work of Suzanne Yates? Let's have a look. Whoa, okay, she's edging more than 50%. Well done, Suzanne. Okay, but still only just over 50%, so that's incredible. We've got lots of new people to meet Suzanne and experience her teaching. Okay, if you want to look into some of her other work as well, I really recommend it. She's a great teacher on the whole pregnancy thing. Right, cool, very cool. So then after Suzanne, oh, we have Philippe, okay? Vandenabeele, if I've said it right. Dinah can probably pronounce it better than I can. Okay, Philippe was on the rehearsal that we did, the early morning one this morning, and he's just a super cool guy, really cool. He's got a wonderful slideshow together, and he's just finishing a book on the art of Anpuku. It looks a wonderful book. He'll show you some shots of the book as we go through the webinar, and of course he's going to make it a very practical session, so we can work on ourselves or we can work on a partner. He's a super cool guy, and he's in Japan, so he's going to have to, you know, get up very early or stay up very late. I'm not sure. I think stay up very late for this webinar. But it's going to be amazing to have him online. He's got a fantastic internet connection. It was like he was in the next room. So Philippe, I've never met him in person, but Dinah's done some editing work for him. He's kind of one of our family, and we're really looking forward to it. So let's just see how well-known Philippe is with the group. I'm going to share it now. Can you just let us know how well you know the work of Philippe Vandenabeele? Vandenabeele. Right.
Vandenabeele.
Can you pronounce it, Dinah? Vandenabeele. Thank you very much. Dinah correcting my pronunciation there. Vandenabeele. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, look, what a big new audience he's got. He's got a very big new audience, and I'm very excited to bring him to your attention. That's absolutely great. Fantastic. Okay, so let's see what's next. We have Michel Odoul. Now, Michel Odoul is a great character. I met him on the European Shiatsu Congress webinars that we did in partnership. I had so much fun with the guy. And also, I read his book, which is entitled Show Me Where It Hurts and I'll Tell You Why, which I thought was a brilliant title for a book. And basically he uses a mixture of TCM and kind of like awareness things, and there's a whole load of stuff he brings into it. He's a real long-term shiatsu teacher from even before I started teaching, so that's how long he's been teaching. He's a great character. I love the guy, and he's going to be sharing his experience being taught by Nakazono Sensei, who has now died in 1994, as you can see. And he was a master of TCM, Aikido, and Shiatsu in France. And he emphasized the global and spiritual dimension. So in a way, it's very close to Pauline Sasaki's work and Kishi's work. Fascinating to read about. And it will be so interesting to hear about the work from someone who's directly influenced by him. Okay, so yeah, really, and Michel is planning also to possibly bring a translator, because I actually think his English is fine. His English is actually very good, but he just sometimes can't find a word. So he might bring a translator in to help him out. Okay, so how many people have we? He's very famous in France, by the way, Michel is. So let's find out how well represented Michel Odoul's students and fans are on this webinar. Do you know the work of Michel Odoul? Have you been taught by him, or maybe you've seen the ESC webinar? That would probably be what it is. Okay, look at that. Okay, pretty good, but still plenty of new people for him to reach. Okay, so yeah, check out Michel's webinar. I'm sure his presentation on ISCO, I'm sure it's going to be really good fun. He's a very interesting character. All right, here we go. Look at this. Now, I want you to be there. If you can be there for Antigoni's webinar, please turn up and give her some encouragement, because I think she's a bit nervous. It's the first time she's ever given a webinar, and we're so pleased and happy that she's contributing. She's Greek, and she's a very, very active person in the Greek Shiatsu world, and she does lots of work for the Greek Shiatsu scene, and she's a lovely person. I've met her several times when I've taught in Greece back in the day, and she's come and studied with us as well. So if you can give her lots of encouragement, don't ask her too many very hard questions. That would be great. Yeah, so she's going to be looking at focusing, and she's got a wonderful, I've seen the slides, they look really, really interesting. It's all about developing meta skills. Reminds me a little bit of Jill Hall's webinar that we did for the ESC way back, which is way back in the mist of time now. Yeah, and she's got a whole system of getting us to use focusing with our Shiatsu, and it very much is aligned with Nick Pohl's work as well, because clean language came out of focusing, developed out of focusing. And what a beautiful title we've got here: the soul listens and the spirit lives. I thought that was really, really wonderful. If you want to find out more about Antigoni, then you can go on to the ISCO website. You can see a bit of more of a bio of her. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to that. It'd be so wonderful to have Antigoni on the ISCO. Okay, so let's see, have we got how many Greek people have we got? If we had a lot of Greeks on this webinar, we'd get a lot of people being aware of her work. But let's see, maybe we have. Look at this. There we go, Antigoni. Some people know you definitely already, and I wonder if they're from Greece, possibly, yeah. Okay, but plenty of people to reach out to. 85% are not, I don't know your work. So we'll look forward to that. Fantastic. Okay, so let's move on. The Shiatsu Research Network. Right, I'm going to be very interested to know how well the Shiatsu Research Network are known. Okay, we've got the lovely Lisa Belmore, who I met in Vienna. I met her in Vienna, got on really well with her. And Sandy, Sturgios, and Christina, I don't know so well, but I met them all on the rehearsal. They all turned up on time. Well done, guys, all of you, all four of you, all connected perfectly okay. And when we went through the rehearsal, and they're a fascinating group of people. They give so much time voluntarily towards supporting Shiatsu scientifically, and they do that by not only just encouraging analysis of papers that come out, but also by encouraging us to use scientific methods of collecting data that we can use to show that Shiatsu is effective. And so this is really going to be a very practical session. It's going to give you a lot of insight on how we can prove that what we do works to a wider public. And we really need that right now, because the world needs Shiatsu more than ever. So if we can provide that evidence, it's going to be really, really useful. So it's something that I think everyone really should look at who's involved in Shiatsu. So the Shiatsu Research Network was established in 2017. So how many of you are aware of the work of the Shiatsu Research Network? Is it new to you, or are you aware of it? Have you been in contact with them? Let's just have a look and see. Okay, so listen up, Shiatsu Research Network. So far, you've made quite a good penetration into the awareness of the Shiatsu, at least of the people on this webinar, because we've got about a quarter of the people are aware of your work. So there's, again, a great opportunity to spread the work, the Shiatsu Research Network. Really looking forward to them. And what they're going to do is they're going to split it into 2 sections. 2 of them are going to come on, have a little break, switch over to the other 2. So the group of 4 of them will be presenting to keep the whole thing moving. So that's going to be really worth looking at. Okay, and they're going to be followed up by Diego Sanchez. Okay, Diego, yes, I know Diego very well. I've met him more than once. We know each other very well. Diego studied with the Shiatsu College in London, I believe. I think he did. Yes, he did. Graduated from the Shiatsu College. And also he did a lot of work with Pauline, especially towards the end of her life, the more advanced work that she developed. And he's developed into a bit of an international teaching star, and he does a lot of work online as well. So it's great to have Diego on ISCO. And what he's going to be presenting is something that's very interesting, I think, for all of us, which is how meridians and chakras interact. And he's based this on the work of Pauline Sasaki, her later work. So again, he's going to do it nice and practical. It's going to be a practical session. Yep, I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be lovely to see Diego. He's a great guy. We really, really like him. Yeah, we had fun on the rehearsal, catching up and everything. So let's see. I think Diego's pretty well known. Let's see whether he can hit 50% here. Do you know the work of Diego Sanchez? Maybe online or face-to-face? Yep, as I thought. He's hit the 50% mark. It's just over 50%. If you haven't worked with him before, you want to check out Diego's workshop. Okay. Sounds pretty amazing so far, doesn't it? Okay, and we're still just towards the end of Saturday. Okay, so that's the end of Saturday. And if that wasn't enough, and I think that is enough for an International Shiatsu Congress. But no, we're going to get up again at 8 o'clock on Sunday. You'll probably see me like this at 8 o'clock on Sunday, trying to keep my eyes open. For a short day, we're going to just do a short morning and then hopefully have a bit of time to collapse, relax, and catch up with our sleep in the afternoon. So who have we got? Well, Patrizia, I was just talking to her. She couldn't make the rehearsal at the weekend, so we just did a rehearsal about an hour and a half ago. Patrizia and I go back a long, long way because Patrizia initially came to the Grimstone Manor workshops of Pauline Sasaki in the late 80s. I think that was when it was, when I first met her. And then she is one of the main teachers in the European Shiatsu Institute, and I taught for the European Shiatsu Institute. I've taught for Patrizia many, many times. Hello to everyone in Italy that knows me through the European Shiatsu Institute. Pauline and Patrizia worked a lot together, and Patrizia's well known because she's also a quantum physicist, believe it or not. She's studied quantum physics at university. She's got a doctorate. She's got a doctorate in quantum physics, and she worked a lot with the late Emilio Del Giudice, who was another wonderful character, fantastic person to have on the side of Shiatsu. So what she's going to do is draw on all of those works. She's developed her own style that she calls Hado Shiatsu, and she's going to put the theme of viral infections and coherence into that presentation. And I just rehearsed it with her just now, and she's going to be doing some work that we can do on ourselves and also doing a demo as well. We had all the camera angles worked out. So I imagine that Patrizia is pretty well known, but I might be wrong. Let's just see whether you know the work of Patrizia Stefanini. I think she's pretty well known, isn't she, among the group? Okay, not as much as I expected. Okay, so there we are, Patrizia. You've got about 2/3 of the audience, if this webinar is anything to go by, will be new to your work. So that'll be very exciting for you. Patrizia is a wonderful person. In fact, my family lived in Italy for 4 years between 2007 and 2011 in Siena in Tuscany. And Patrizia was our next door neighbor. Can you believe that? That was an amazing time to have her as a neighbor up the road in Tuscany. So we go back a long way. Okay, so Patrizia kicks everything off. Now here's Rita. Rita, I hadn't met before, at least I didn't think I had, until we did the European Shiatsu Congress webinar this year, I guess it was, or was it last year? I'm not sure. But anyway, it was in this last season building up. Anyway, it turns out, I was embarrassed to find out that Rita, that I was actually her assessor on her Shiatsu Society assessment in the 80s, because for a short time I was part of the UK Shiatsu Society assessment board, where people would come and get assessed and awarded a certificate. And it turned out that we had loads in common. We used to hang out in the same places in London, in Old Street in the 80s. She met me when I assessed her, and we had all these connections. And it was just an amazing thing to find out, going back to the early days in London of the Shiatsu scene. She is a great person. She's very, very interesting. She gave a wonderful webinar for the ESC, and she's into mindful touch education. She's developing this whole system of people being able to develop awareness in children of haptic interaction. In other words, using the hands, getting them away from social media. And it's just fascinating work. And she's got research to back up. Believe it or not, talk about hot off the press. She's still waiting for the results of some of her research to come through, and they're not coming through till tomorrow. So she can't send us her slides until tomorrow. That's how new her material is. So it's really going to be worth checking that out. Okay, really a great presenter. You may have seen her ESC webinar. So let's just see how much you know about the work of Rita. Yeah, look at that. Okay, whoa, okay. Surprise. Yes, it's about 1/3 to 2/3. About 2/3 of you haven't met Rita yet. Okay, so I really recommend you checking that out. She'll be a bit more relaxed than she was on the first one, because that was the first webinar, the one I did with the ESC, so she'll be much more chilled this time. Okay, so cool. We're nearly through Sunday, and look who we've got here, the very wonderful Carola. Of course, I've known Carola since 1982, probably, when we all went on the early Pauline Sasaki workshops, which were in Wales, in a Buddhist monastery there. And those were very, very important workshops where, in fact, everyone in the Shiatsu scene in the UK all kind of met together. And I met Carola there, and 4 years later we formed the Shiatsu College. And you almost certainly would have heard of Carola's work, because she wrote the most beautiful book on Shiatsu, probably the best overall textbook of Shiatsu. I think it's hard that you wouldn't have come across Carola's work. She's obviously a lovely person. She's a great friend of mine and a great friend of New Energy Work. And she's agreed to come on the Congress. We love that. And she's going to do a themed thing on loneliness and Shiatsu, which I'm very interested to hear about. I talked to one of my clients the other day, who's a therapist, and she said that's one of the biggest themes they're coming up with psychotherapy. And we're going to get the same thing with Shiatsu too, with the whole isolation with coronavirus. So it's right on the button, Carola. What a great theme. She's going to look into the causes and effects on health of loneliness. And she's going to do a practical session as well. And she's going to gear it for partner or solo work. So if you've not worked with Carola lately, or you haven't worked with her before, you've got to see if you can see that session. If you can't make it live, make sure you check out the recording as soon as you can. Okay, so I would imagine that Carola's going to be right up there in terms of her work known. So how many people know Carola's work, either read a book, seen her online, or have studied with her face-to-face, maybe even? Okay, look at that, 90%, 89% of you know Carola's work one way or the other, and that doesn't surprise me at all. Okay, great. So we're nearly at the end, and if I've got any energy left at all, I've promised to give a workshop myself. Look at that. And I thought a really nice way to finish off the whole Congress would be to do it on the spiritual dimension of Shiatsu. It's something we've been working on. We recently did a whole online course on the vibrational levels. And also I'd like to look at with the whole distant Shiatsu theme, I've been doing a lot of research into the links between spiritual practice and awareness of the spiritual level in healing, which I think are really, really important. And especially if we take the message of what coronavirus is telling us about the fact that we've got to change the way we're relating to ourselves, we've got to change the way that we're relating to the planet. The planet is warning us. So that's the themes I'm going to pull out, and I'm going to make it really practical, try and get us in touch with our own spiritual aspects, and also how we can make that a very concrete part of our Shiatsu technique through the touch. Okay, so I'm just going to try and share that with you before I probably completely fall over at the end of the Congress and definitely need to have the afternoon off. Now, I guess you probably are familiar with my work, but it's only fair that I ask you. This doesn't count, this webinar, by the way. So if this is the first time you've ever seen me, I'd like you to put no. But if you are familiar, you've probably been on lots of webinars before, or maybe study with me online. So look at this. This is very encouraging because we've got like over 10% of you. This is the first time. So this is one of our aims of the ISCO, is to bring in new audiences and new people that may want to connect with us and connect with this wonderful scene and connection that we have in Shiatsu. And that's really amazing. So welcome. We're very, very happy to have you there. Okay, so we better move on. Right, okay, so now I haven't seen this yet. It's a short video that Kat put together. She only put it together today, this afternoon. And it's just a little taste so that you can see what happens behind the scenes. And you got a little welcome into our world as we put together ISCO 220. Ta-da! Oh, Nicola's already here. She's early.
Everybody's early today, making you stress.
No, we're not stressed at all. We're having a great day. Everything's cool. Everything's totally cool.
I'll go and get a cup of tea.
But then you can start doing the movement. So moving your body to get the stepping action with your partner. You could stay even longer doing that. You could sense, do you want to be doing stepping or more still?
If you work on the global, you will always reach the local. If you work on the local, you will never reach the global.
Yeah.
So if you want to help somebody by Shiatsu, you have first to rebalance all the meridian as much as possible, and then to do a specific work.
Hello, I'm Nicola. I'm going to do a session that's best to join in. As my teacher says, it's not really helpful if you're a tourist. You really have to jump in and feel the G. So if you want a notebook, please go and get it. And here we'll start. And we'll start with our alignment, feet on the floor, 3 Sanchez.
The antenna says
connection to heaven.
Yes,
it links you to the
I was sucking
We've got 20 of the most leading Shiatsu practitioners in the world presenting for you that you can tune into in your home or studio. Now, have we progressed Shiatsu in the last 10 years, or have we been slacking, everyone?
Fantastic. That's really good.
Or even, how do you rate your listening skills?
I've been using it a lot. I'm so grateful for all your advice on getting this stuff put together. It's been great. It saved my life. Like
really?
I couldn't travel anymore.
So we hope to see you at ISCO, the International Shiatsu Congress, online. Ta-da! Oh, Nicola. Wow, what a great video. Wow, thank you so much, Kat. That was an amazing bit of editing. She put that together this afternoon. I can't believe it. It was so good. I hope you really enjoyed that. That gives you a little glimpse of what it's been like. It's been crazy. We had pretty much a whole day on Saturday, all these people logging in from all over the world. It's just been unbelievable. So we just got 10 minutes left. I just want to say a little bit about the team roles and what everyone's going to be doing behind the scenes on the webinar. Okay, so it's a big production for us. So we've got different roles. I'm going to be presenting and I'm going to be chatting to all of the presenters, and I'll be taking part in their workshops. Shakura is our stage manager. So what she does is she makes sure that everyone turns up, the presenters turn up on time, and make sure they stop on time. She's going to be behind the scenes doing that. And then we have Dinah, Kat, and Basti, and their role is to do the chat support, and they can also flag up any questions and answers any question and answer management. So basically, if you ask a question in the chat, they can be flagged up, and then we can answer them later on in the webinar. So we're all going to be we've all been working flat out for the last few weeks building this up, and we're going to be working flat out now between now and the event and afterwards when we put together the recording, because the whole team is going to be involved in getting the recordings online for you. So if you missed anything, you'll be able to watch that later on. Okay, so just a quick word about how to access ISCO. It's basically a live event over 3 days. The times are in CST, so you have to adjust them for your time zone. They're basically 3 continuous webinars. 3 continuous webinars. You can log in, log out whenever you want during that time, as long as you've got the registration, as long as you've got a ticket. We've also got chats and polls, just like we've done on this webinar. There's going to be lots of practical exercises. And you have to, if you haven't registered already, and I'll ask you a question about that in a minute, then you need to register as soon as you can. We've got plenty of tickets though, because we've upgraded the system to 1,000 attendees. And that's a lot. That's a hell of a lot. So don't worry about registering. Even if you want to come in for half a day, chill. You can come in. We'll be happy to see you. We've upgraded the system to give you plenty of room. There's absolutely no problem. Just a word though, if you want a really good experience, check your system. There's a link on the website on the registration page at the bottom where you can check your system. Just make sure that you're near your router. That's the flashing light thing where the internet comes through. Or if you've got an Ethernet cable, that'll help. The main thing that can mess things up for you though are probably like teenagers playing games or watching YouTube, because they can suck the bandwidth out of your computer. Okay, so try and get a nice clean connection so you get a good video feed on the day. Okay, now if you miss any of the live event, you don't need to worry at all, because Kat is our video editor. She's going to be chopping up all the video presentations. She's working with Basti and the rest of the team to put them online. They're going to be essentially like an online course. We're making simple quizzes up to prove that you've seen the presentation, and that means we can give you CPD or continuing ed credits for the ISCO recorded session, which is cool because you can use them for your professional organization. Okay, all you need to do is just join as a free member at newenergywork.com. And what we're going to do is after the event, because to give us a bit of a breathing space, we're going to release the Friday the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday at weekly intervals to give us time to edit everything. And then we're going to have a webinar like this on the Tuesdays after the ISCO, where we're going to just give an overview of what happened on that day and make sure that you can get online and enjoy the recordings. Okay. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Right. So I want to know is whether you're going to ISCO. Let's find out whether you're going to go. Are you attending ISCO 2020? And the options are, yes, you're going to the live, even if it's just one of the days or half a day, or you're planning to watch the recorded ISCO. So let's just see what we've got here. Okay, that's very interesting. So you've got about two thirds of you are planning to go to ISCO, the live ISCO, and yeah, pretty much 70%. So that's awesome. We'll see you there, right? And those of you who can't make it are going to go and see the recording, which is going to be there unlimited for you to watch. Okay, so that's really cool. That's really good to know. And some of you are not going to go into it at all. Okay, well, that's again your option if you don't want to. Okay, so are there any questions? I'm going to have a look at the chat and have a look and see if we've got any questions. Right, okay, so let's get through some of these questions. Do we still need to register for the recording if we're already new members? No, you don't. Okay, if you're already a new member, maybe you're a donating member, a professional member, or a free member, it'll be there for you. So no worries about that. Okay, are they going to, Catherine? Yeah, are there going to be some breaks? They certainly are. Yeah, there are going to be 15-minute breaks between the sessions so we can get the presenters over, and there's going to be a lunch break as well, an hour's lunch break. So yeah, that totally is going to be some breaks. Okay, Fran says, can you remind us of the UK times for these speakers? All you need to do is go to the program page on the ISCO website. If you can't type that great big long thing in, International Shiatsu Congress Online.org, if you can't do that, just go to newenergywork.com and there's a link right there. Just click on it and it'll take you through to the website. And basically, you look at the program, and that's in Central European summertime, which is 1 hour later than us. Okay, so if it starts at 9 o'clock in Europe, it means we have to get up at 8 o'clock and do it, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Okay, so just subtract an hour off all the times. Okay, so hopefully Fran can sort that out. Can we see your picture? No video, please. I don't know what that means, Caroline. I'm not sure what that means. But anyway, hopefully you've worked it out. Okay, so just got a couple more slides left. We've just got a few minutes left. Okay, this is if you can do us a favor. Okay, we've invested quite a lot of we've had so much fun with it, and we'd like as many people to come to ISCO, but we have expanded the tickets now to 1,000 places, which basically means you can invite as many people as you know to join the event, and there's no problems. We're not going to reach capacity, I don't think. So if you've got any friends, maybe you could just send them a link. It would be so cool. Then it would be so cool to tell them about it. We've got another question here, which is, Adrienne, can we or should we watch the recordings of the ISC before your Tuesday review sessions? Well, that depends on whether we get them up in time, because it's going to take us a bit of time to get them up, and to what we're doing is we're kind of giving ourselves a deadline of when we can get them up. But you'll probably find that some of them will appear earlier, so you can watch them whenever you like. Yeah, there's no problem there. But we're just going to review what we've done each time. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. Right, okay, so yeah, so we've got 1,000 places, so we'd really like you to help us. Just get in touch with all of your Shiatsu friends and just say, hey, this super cool event is happening. It's all free, it's all totally free. We're just asking for donations if you like it and if you can. We know that a lot of Shiatsu practitioners are having hard times, and our philosophy is we do everything for free and we work entirely on donations. Okay, so there's no downside really, just come and enjoy it. And that's it. A massive, massive thank you to everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I'm really looking forward to the weekend. And thank you very much to Dinah for sorting out the chat for me. I'm sure there's been lots of things going on in the chat. Whoa. Okay, so yes, excellent. I think that's it. We're all done. An hour. So we'll see you on Friday, yeah, at 9 o'clock Central European summertime. Again, don't worry if you can only log in for some of the time. Everything is cool. Tell all your friends. Okay, I'm going to end the session. Thank you, Dinah.